Welcome to the Entrepreneur Spotlight Show, where visionaries, leaders, and game changers share the ideas shaping the future of business.
Hello, everybody. Andy Jacob here with the Entrepreneur Spotlight Show, and I have a great show today. I've been waiting for the show for about 2 weeks to get Mr. David Rutz on the show because we're going to talk about my favorite thing, which is money. And we're going to talk about funding. And if you have a small business or you're a medium-sized business, even a large business, you know that the key to your life is cash flow. And sometimes you need a little help. And that's where David and his team at David Allen Capital come into play. They've got a platform called BankBreezy. We're going to be talking about that today, but this is a great platform. It's very different than what's out there already. So I was very happy to have David on the show. David, welcome to the Entrepreneur Spotlight Show today.
Well, I appreciate it, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to sharing what we can do to help the business owners you're talking about.
Yeah, I love to have you on the show. We love talking about it. And of course, this platform BankBreezy. For the entrepreneurs watching the show and who watch religiously, you know that we talk about branding all the time. Isn't that just the greatest name, BankBreezy? I mean, you can't not remember that name. It's fantastic. But David, before we get into it, before we get started, let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet. Tell us about David Allen Capital and how it spun into this BankBreezy platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I was that business owner who I had a growing business. It was a juice beverage manufacturer, and we were growing too fast. We couldn't fund the ingredients fast enough to replace the sales. And so even though we were selling, we had a purchase time of 2 months or so. So long story short, I couldn't get funding from the bank. And I ended up having to take that company, 10-year-old company, and I ended up having to merge it with someone, sell it, frankly, who could afford the growth. And I remember talking to my bank right there in Southfield, Michigan, bank where the banks bank. Or bank where businesses bank, it said. And unfortunately, they said, unless you can put up collateral and we need at least a month, we just can't get you money. And it kind of set me off a little bit. And I said, if I ever start another company and there's a way to bring business funding solution, I want to do it. And I learned of alternative revenue-based funding back there in 2015. And I decided to start a company to help businesses in a position like mine. And over a period of time, I realized there's not one lender best for everyone. We represent alternative lenders, and there's not one that's best for everybody. But of all the businesses in America, the top 10% can get bank lending, but 90% can't get bank lending, and alternative capital is their only choice. Well, there's not one lender that's best for all of them. I learned that over time as a broker with David Allen Capital, and decided to start the BankBreezy funding platform to say, okay, there's banks, and then there's BankBreezy, and if you need an alternative capital provider, apply with us. We'll go out and find the best offer from the top 20 businesses. So it was really an answer to us getting a lot of declines as we presented offers, and we'd have to try this bank and this bank and this bank. And eventually the BankBreezy funding platform was just the simple evolution of that manual work.
I love it so much. And for entrepreneurs watching the show, David was involved with the business. He needed a product or a service. He said, hey, there has to be a better way. And then he started a platform that was not out there. So that's a great learning sort of situation for people watching the show right now, that when you're in business, sometimes doors open and you have to be smart enough to be able to open that door and kick it wide open and get to the next level, which is exactly what David and his team have done. Now, let's talk about it, because we have businesses out here that need money. I mean, they have to buy inventory. Sometimes they have an account receivable that's a little slow, but then, of course, what's happening is they know the money's coming, but they need something to sort of float themselves a little bit. So let's talk about the types of companies that come to the BankBreezy platform and why they need the money.
Absolutely. We have two plays we run. We like to use sports analogies. We have daily huddles with our brokers, but we have two plays, a fuel play and a rescue play, we call them. A fuel play is a business who's in growth mode. They've got ideas they can expand from one pizza shop to two, or they got a construction business and they want to expand their crews so they can say yes to more business, but don't have the money to do it in advance. So those are fuel plays. We're helping to grow and we're contributing to their business. And then we have rescue plays. That's the business which we see a lot. They're late on rent. And if they don't get caught up 6 months past due, their restaurant is going to be evicted from the building. And so we have some times where the business just went through a pinch and they need capital. We can get them capital quickly. So rescue play is about 10% of our businesses. 90% of our businesses are growth plays, fuel plays, we call them, where we're giving contribution to the business.
I love it. The fuel plays. I mean, that's really
Yes.
sort of an analogy to sports. I mean, I know you're a big time sport guy from Michigan. Go Blue. For the
Hey, yes.
entrepreneurs watching the show from Ohio, we are sorry that you're about to get into. I think you're playing in the big house this year. But anyway, listen, David, this is great. So let's just talk about it a little bit because we talk about fueling growth. So we have small to mid-sized
Yes.
companies. Who's the prime type of company that can't get the 10% of the loans from the bank?
Yeah.
What's the revenue? Are they 1 to 10 million revenue companies? What's the sort of the synopsis of what they look like?
Yeah, the wheelhouse we're in is anywhere from $15,000 a month in revenue up to a couple million a month. That's where we play most because they don't really have many options. And the only way to get a bank loan is if you have collateral. So if a business is renting space and they don't have collateral and they don't want to put up their home, they can't get a business loan. Doesn't matter how profitable they are, what their sales are. So we see a lot of businesses doing 2 million a month, 3 million a month who still come to us because the owner says, "I'm not putting my house up," or "I don't have collateral to put up." So if a business is doing $15,000 a month or more, we can generally get them access to about 1 to 2 months of their current revenue is about the type of approval we'll get for them.
That's
We
great.
even have an instant funder, Andy, for our under 15,000 for gig workers. We've even partnered with a company to get them instant funding, 3 to 15,000 a month in revenue. We can get them an instant offer online, but our focus is 15,000 a month and higher.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And you have a program for gig workers as well, because that's a
Yeah.
burgeoning sort of opportunity where you have people working from home, they're working all over the world, they've got their computer, maybe they're making 5, 10, $15,000 a month, and they need to sort of fuel the growth of their gig business. So that's a great idea. Are these loans tied to something? Are they tied to like a merchant cash advance, or what are they tied to with regard to the collateral?
They're not tied to a merchant cash advance, where we're taking a percentage of the credit cards or anything like that. Those do exist. We compete with them. We just have better offers, or we'd represent them as well. Again, we're providing the best offer. So, fortunately, we've got better offers than the MCAs. However, we are tying it to their revenue. So, because there's no collateral, the collateral is their future revenue. So the way the legal documents are, in some states, they're term loans, but they're always paid back as a percentage of future revenue. Other states, they're called advances, where it depends on the law of each state. But all of our providers work the same way. We'll give you money now, generally 1 to 2 times your monthly revenue, and you're going to pay it back over the next 6 to 18 months
Yeah, I
as a
love that.
percentage of future revenue.
Right, that makes sense. And you have so many success stories, people that are able
Yes.
to take the fuel. I mean, obviously there's the rescue plays where people they need some help right now. It's an emergency. They need to get through a tough spot in their business. It happens to all entrepreneurs. It's happened to me
Yes.
many times throughout the years. And then you get through that rough spot and hopefully there's clear sailing after that. But you have so many success stories of companies that come to you and they're, hey, we need to fuel the business. We need some money now because we've got this new thing or this new opportunity that's coming around the plank. So, what's that fuel money typically used for by the companies that come to you, David?
It runs across the gamut, as you can imagine, Andy. However, what we see in bulk is expansion of multiple locations. Someone's got 1, 2, 3 locations. They want to add locations. And based on their current revenue, we can get them 80 grand, 100,000, and they can open up that next retail shop. So expansion, inventory discounts is huge because inventory discounts are usually last minute. So even if you can get bank funding, you can't get it quick enough. And so we get inventory discounts are a big savings, not necessarily a fuel play, but it is a savings play. But I would say expansion, whether it's location or product lines, are the primary reasons people take our funds. I've got multiple stories of remodeling a restaurant, building a patio so they can double their seating, marketing campaigns. Everything costs money. So they got great ideas. They got a great message, want to get the word out. They need 20 grand to put into marketing. So there's multiple reasons, but expansion is probably the one that's most valuable. It pays for itself. It's very easy because you're building more future revenue.
That's great, David. Now, there are some companies out there that already have an alternative funding source, but there's a problem with that. The problem is that they're not working with one of the big time players like BankBreezy does. So how does that work? Let's unwrap that for those companies that maybe need to start thinking about a different type of funding from a better company.
Yeah, well, and that's where the BankBreezy platform, why it was designed, because even in our top 20, we've got the top 20 funders, but even amongst them, Andy, there's not one that's best for every business. It's based on the month, the industry, et cetera. So when someone comes to us, we'll present it to those top 20, and then we find the best offer based on the month, the industry, et cetera. So the business owner is always getting the best deal with us. So if someone's already got capital, the odds of them choosing the right carrier, the right month is pretty slim. So they probably got less of an offer or are overpaying compared to what we could have got them. So if someone's already got funding, they can apply with us. We can get them additional or get them out of that position into ours at a better price. But going forward in the future, certainly don't go direct. Come through BankBreeze. We'll always get the best offer rather than going direct or possibly going to the wrong provider altogether.
I love it. Now, if I use the BankBreezy platform and I'm in need of some of this money to fuel my business or maybe some type of rescue play to rescue my business temporarily so I can move forward in a powerful way.
Yep.
I would imagine it's a simple application process. But if I want some expertise, is that available as well? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. What we say is people want technology, they want online, but they also want to talk to somebody. So what we've got independent brokers, certified brokers. We're the only company that requires certifications of its brokers. So every one of our brokers must go through a certification course or they can't represent us. So we have certified brokers all throughout North America. They're the first line. They're the front line of capitalism. We call them because they're out there talking to the business owners. And as that front line of capitalism, they help sort who's a good fit and who's not. But once they fill out that application, it's all done online, takes them about 5 minutes, the business owner. They fill it out themselves, upload 3 months of their checking account statements. That's all we ask for up front. And once we've got that, then we've got an internal team, Andy, that they're the ones who look at the package, talk to the business owner in more depth. They're not paid on commission. So their job is to not close the customer. We said, no, we want to make sure it's the right fit for the customer. Let's find out the customer needs. Let's go find the best offer for the client. And then let's present that. And they're the ones talking and presenting the offer on behalf of the lender. And again, they're not paid on commission, which was very important for us. So the broker's paid on commission. They're out there, bird dogging, finding people that might be interested, and they're taking care of clients. But the internal team is the one who really answers most of the questions about the terms of the deal, why we went with this lender over this one. Oh, you need a longer term. Okay, you're not going to be able to get it approved for as much then, or, they can play with all that. So we've got technology stack to start it, a waterfall process of all these lenders to serve them. But then we've got live bodies talking to the clients, every one of them, and our customers love it.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love it. Now I'm thinking about the brokers. So I'm thinking, I have a lot of businesses that I'm connected with. I know a lot of people. I'm a great networker. Maybe have a small accounting firm and have 30, 40, 50, businesses that I help on a yearly basis do their P&Ls, maybe do their tax returns. Can someone come into the network as a broker? How do they get involved with this? Because if I'm sitting back and I'm watching the show, I'm saying, wow, I all I need to do is bird dog and hustle up here and connect businesses that might need some money for fuel plays, let's say. How do I get involved with the whole program?
Andy, I just got, obviously your entrepreneurial blood is boiling because we've not talked about this at all. And obviously, I appreciate your interest in that for other people, for the listeners. Yeah, we allow any we have bank managers who become referral partners. We have CPAs who become referral partners. Banks don't want to say no. They have to say no. They can't approve clients that they've had for 12 years, 13 years. So we say, hey, not us, but you got to go check out BankBreezy. Banks can't get paid for it, so they just refer us business. We'll pay them, but it's against their rules. But CPAs, attorneys can all be referral partners. David Allen Capital allows people to become brokers at no cost. We have a partner page where we can sign people up as referral partners. To earn commissions, though, at a higher level, you have to become a certified broker. That goes through trainings, tests, quizzes, much like a licensing process. It's all done internally. And then once they're certified, they get a higher commission. Referral partners would just refer, and they're always positioned with a broker. So a referral partner can't just sign up. They have to sign up through a certified broker. So you got two people taking care of that client before they even apply.
Wow, it's fabulous. It's a great platform. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. I mean, you've got a great background. You've been experienced in many different types of businesses, and we have entrepreneurs watching the show. Some of them are younger. Some of them maybe are having a tough time. Maybe they're starting out. Let's give some advice. Let's give back to the entrepreneur community. David, let's think about someone having a tough time. They're freezing in the brain. Maybe they don't know what to turn. Do you have some advice that you can give to some of the younger entrepreneurs about entrepreneurship, David, based on your past experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an emotional roller coaster, isn't it? It's got great outcomes you can establish for your family, a fantastic lifestyle once you get on the other side of performance. I was talking to my nephew yesterday who's in the grind right now as an entrepreneur, and we were just talking about this. And all I can say is when you're on the emotional roller coaster, when you're going down in the emotions, just call up, find someone who's a mentor you can reach out to, like my nephew reached out to me. It's a great move to talk to someone who's been through that roller coaster. So you've got a confidant. An employee mindset doesn't understand it. They don't understand a non-guaranteed pay. They don't understand revenue comes and goes sometimes, and you got to keep working through it. So I would say start with the emotional roller coaster, talk to someone as a mentor, number one. But number two, I also spend a lot of time in reflection. If things aren't going well, sometimes my discernment's saying I need to make some adjustments. And, if I'm going through the tough grind, maybe the tough grind is bumpers talking, telling me to go down a different path, not to quit, but to reevaluate like our commission internal team. We used to pay them commission. And we had a lot of people accepting offers who then weren't happy later. And I realized our internal team was a little too motivated by what they could earn by getting a yes. So we had to pull that back. There was a change that we made. So I would say, don't quit, number one, but evaluate what you're doing and ask, is there things that you could do better? Because if you're not growing, it's either you're not talking to enough people or you're doing something a little bit wrong.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, mentorship is very important to you. I mean, you offer mentorship through your non-commissioned team as well. My third grade teacher at Stevenson Elementary School, David, was Miss DeFranco. And when she said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up? Nobody raised their hand and said, I want to eat top ramen for 3 years, get 6 months behind on my car payment, and not know how I'm going to make payroll on Friday, right? That's what entrepreneurship is sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. Let's talk about it a little bit more. So we're very fascinated with branding here. How did this BankBreezy come up? I mean, was it just a domain that was available and there was an aha moment? I mean, because it's fabulous.
No, actually, Andy, it's funny. I had that name before I had David Allen Capital. So I drew a pig on a surfboard. I called it BankBreezy. I wanted people to know there's an easy way to get business funding because I only knew of the traditional hard way. And so I was trying to come up with what could be a good name. And I had this BankBreezy thing, and I didn't know at the time whether it would take. So I went with David Allen Capital to sound more credible. But it wasn't long before we realized BankBreezy was a better brand name to go with because there's banks. They're great. Banks are great, but they're not easy. So that's why we have BankBreezy.
I like it. Now let's take you back to when you were younger.
Mm.
Let's take you back to the teen years, more impressionable time, maybe your 20s. Was entrepreneurship something that you were thinking about back then? Did you always want to sort of run your own thing, or was this something that happened later in life?
It's been there. Yeah, I would say it's been there my entire life. I remember I grew up in Warren, Michigan, and there was a 7-Eleven within walking distance, but I didn't have the money for a Slurpee. And I remember going to the mobile gas station at the corner of 14 and Hayes, and it's no longer there, but they used to sell oil. And I remember going in and talking to the guy and saying, "Hey, do you mind if I sell oil to your customers who are getting their gas so I could buy a Slurpee?" And he would let me work. And so there was always a way to provide a value. It wasn't necessarily to make money. It was how do we provide a value? But yeah, I always wanted my own thing. I went to Michigan Business School and I got a job at General Motors and Arthur Anderson. I tried different consulting and I realized I need to be in my own business. So it's always been there. And I think it is the case for most entrepreneurs. But I know a lot of them get great experience in the corporate world and decide they could manage their own business more than they can manage a corporation.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you and I have something in common. We both have great wives, and I want to talk about that a little bit. How important do you think having a supportive um, partner is in the entrepreneurial journey?
I think it's critical. The old song, "The Wind Beneath My Wings." You really do get support or discouragement from the person you're married to. So I would say this: in my younger years, I realized the discouragement that I felt was because my wife was trying to nudge me into maturity. There was reasons, you're not doing certain things that you should be doing. So some of the discouragement is well founded. And so it takes a mature business person to say, you know what, maybe I need to listen and hear and not let my pride swell, but instead create some wisdom from my spouse. In the book, in the Bible, Genesis, it says Eve was created to be a helper, but the underlying root word is an adversarial advocate. It's a helper by nudging you, just like God nudged the Israelites. Sometimes Eve is meant to nudge you, like, get back in line with where you're supposed to be. So I think it's very important to have an encouragement, but I also value when there's some truth that comes out that, hey, have you thought about A, B, or C, and take deep consideration. My younger years, I was like, you don't know, I'm at this every day, you don't know. And I'd, even though I wouldn't yell, I would take offense internally. And so I say it's important to have encouragement, but it's also nice when the truth is can help your business too.
That's so well said. I love it so much. Let's take you back to business school. And I know you
Yes.
only cut out a certain amount of time for us today, and we're talking about BankBreezy and what the opportunity is. And for people that need that fuel play where they need to take some fuel and pour it on the fire. You need to expand your business. You have an opportunity to buy some cheap inventory that comes across your desk and you need that money fast. This is what Bank Breezy is all about. Or you need a little rescue to get you through a tough spot. This is why people use this platform. And we have the people that are in non-commission that will help you get through it and find the right loan for you, which is phenomenal. Let's take you back to business school.
Yeah.
What's when you left business school, looking back on it now, what is there one thing that you learned at business school that was the big takeaway? I know you learned a lot, but was there one giant takeaway that you're now even using in this, stage of your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. It's not something I learned in the classroom, although I benefit from that, of course, but you can get that on YouTube and anywhere else, all that knowledge too now, right? What I got most out of business school was how to get things done out of the classroom, how to be disciplined, how to, we were graded on a curve. It was very competitive. So the whole idea of, do you want to win? Are you going to find a way to be in the top performers, or are you going to be okay being at the low end of the performers? So I would say more than anything is we've all hustled, we've all tried at something and succeeded. So what I learned more is how to focus on that rather than my weaknesses. I learned to focus on my past successes. We're supposed to look at the windshield, not the rear view mirror, but sometimes the rear view mirror reminds us of what we did very well in the past. So if we think about that and we think about how we did it, so I think that's what I learned more than anything is how to go from just getting by in school to being a performer in school and what that took from a personal discipline. That's probably what I rely on more than anything, more than what I got in, law class or finance class.
Wow, I love it so much. You're doing a great job. You're building a great team. I know that you're a great mentor. You and your wife believe in giving back to the community in a great way as well. That's very important. Let's talk about that just for a minute. How important is that give back or that pay it forward in an entrepreneur's life and your life?
Well, in the end, the purpose, you get to the other side of money where you're not working for money anymore. It's like, what's that going to do to my bank account, or what's that going to do at some point you get there, or maybe you never do because you're worried so much about money. But the purpose, when you really think about it, we've got that birth year and that year that we're no longer here, and that gap. What are we doing in that gap that serves a purpose? So I think, we've got a great team internally. All of us get together in our company. We take care of customers because we feel good about it. And if we're not feeling good, it's hard to get up each morning. My wife calls it the pillow test. And she said, if I put my head down on the pillow at the end of the night and I'm questioning something I did, I need to do better tomorrow. And if I can sit down and not question anything and not have to put it private, I can't share that publicly. I can't put that on a podcast because that would hurt our business. You got to be able to be exposed to everything. Otherwise, it's short term. So I think purpose matters more than anything. And of course, part of taking, our thing is take care of our brokers, take care of our employees, take care of our lenders. Let's not give them bad business, and take care of our clients. And as long as we're doing that, we got a good business.
I love it. I love it. The pillow test is a great test, of course.
Yes.
You're building a great business. Love the attitude. Love the way you look at things, David. Bank Breezy. It's incredible. We're going to put a link below. Of course, David Allen Capital will put a link there as well for people that might want to become brokers, or at least talk to David and his team about the opportunity that exists to use your existing business and maybe start referring or hustling for some clients or some businesses that need this money for the fuel play, or to a lesser degree for the rescue play. Either way, companies do need this money, and it's a great way to go. So, David, I want to thank you so much for taking some time today and coming on the Entrepreneur Spotlight Show.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Andy.